Hey guys, my name is Dice Rollin'. In celebration of Mother's Day, let's have a look at some of the best mothers in horror movies. We already talked about the best fathers, so it's only fair. I think we can all agree that the love of a mother knows no bounds. Regardless of demons, different dimensions, and even masked killers, a good mother will fight to the death to protect her children, both blood-related and adopted. So without further ado, these are my top 10 best mothers in horror movies. Wendy Torrance, The Shining, 1980. Looking to get away for a while also earning a living, a family spend winter in an empty hotel to caretake it. Gradually, it becomes apparent that they're not alone in this massive place. Once again, we have another character who has been presented in one of my past lists, and not in the best light. But let's focus on the good aspects of Wendy. She obviously cares very much for both Danny and Jack, but when Jack threatens them, she does what she can to prevent him from doing something truly horrible. Despite being completely out of her depth, she does manage to fend Jack off rather decently, while allowing Danny a chance to get away. And in no small part to her efforts, she ensures that Danny and herself do escape. Karen Barclay, Child's Play, 1988. After receiving the popular Toy of the Year, a boy discovers that his new best friend is actually possessed by the soul of a murderer. Karen's a hard-working single mother who's just trying her best, so when Andy desperately wants a good guy doll, she manages to get her hands on one for him. Unfortunately, this ends up being the worst decision ever. Not that she knew that. However, when it becomes apparent that the doll means to murder, she's ready to protect her son. Stevie Wayne, The Fog, 1980. A coastal town faces a supernatural fog that holds vengeful ghosts seeking to ensure that this is one anniversary the town will never forget. Stevie is someone I don't see a lot of people mention when they talk about mothers in horror movies, so I figured I'd give her some acknowledgement here. She's a hard-working woman who manages to balance her work and raising her son on her own rather well. And when Blake and his crew begin ravaging Antonio Bay, Stevie utilizes her vantage point to help everyone. And even though she is unable to save her son herself, she does guide help to him just in time. I would imagine that it takes an immense amount of bravery to stay where you are for the sake of others, when you know your kid is in danger. LYNN PELTZER, Gremlins, 1984. After receiving a particularly unique gift from his father for Christmas, a young man is faced with a horde of chaotic creatures bent on destroying his hometown. Oh my god, this woman is a badass! With essentially no preparation or idea of what's going on, Mrs. Peltzer still made several smart moves and took out a little over half of the original Gremlins. Clearly, she's quite adaptable and quick thinking. Aside from her combat skills, she comes across like a genuinely caring mother and wife who supports her son and husband no matter what. DIANE FREELING, Poltergeist, 1982. A suburban family is thrown into the world of the paranormal when strange activity begins to arise in their home. The youngest daughter is taken from them, which leaves them to figure out how to get her back before it's too late. I've already included Steve Freeling on my top 10 horror movie fathers list, so it's really not much of a surprise that Diane would appear on this one. Much like Steve, she's obviously willing to do anything to protect her kids, and that includes venturing into another dimension to retrieve Carol Ann. Not only that, but she faces several different obstacles that try to prevent her from getting both Carol Ann and Robbie out of the house for good. DONNA TRENTON, CUJO, 1983. A mother and her son find themselves trapped in a car when a St. Bernard infected with rabies attacks them. Facing down a giant animal that's determined to end you is no joke. It's even worse when you're virtually unarmed. Yet somehow, Donna still manages to do everything in her power to prevent a horrific death for herself and her son. She's not a fighter, but is able to find the strength to combat this large and crazed threat. PAMELA VOORHEES, Friday the 13th, 1980. A group of young adults are working to reopen a summer camp with a tragic past. However, they're being picked off one by a mysterious killer. Okay, so hear me out. Obviously, Pamela is a very dedicated mother who lost her only child in a pretty devastating way. Does that warrant her slaughtering a bunch of people who weren't involved? I'll leave that up to you to decide. But you can't disregard just how much Pamela loved Jason, and vice versa, if nothing else. Or that she's got a lot of stamina and strength to have done everything that she did. Adelaide Wilson, Us, 2019. While on vacation, a family is confronted and attacked by what seems to be their doppelgangers. Come to find out that murderous twins of other people are emerging, which leaves everyone to fight for their lives. Adelaide genuinely seems like a caring mother and wife. She sensed the threat before it arrived as well. When shit hits the fan, she comes up with a plan and works with her family to defend themselves. And of course, she faces Red and fights for herself and Jason and wins. Laurie Strode, Halloween franchise. A masked killer by the name of Michael Myers stalks and kills all those who get in the way of his goal, and that goal varies depending on what timeline you're going with. Laurie is an interesting case when it comes to motherhood. You have the Jamie timeline, but we're not going to be focusing on that much because Laurie really wasn't around for Jamie. So instead, I'm focusing on H2O and the Halloween movies that have come out in recent years. As far as H2O is concerned, I'd say she was a pretty good mother. She tried to move on with her life and protect her son best she could even when Michael returned again. And she was technically victorious against him. In the recent Halloween movies, she may not be as great, but let's not forget just what she'd been through prior to her daughter being born. Regardless, she once again took drastic measures to ensure the safety of her family against a truly formidable threat. Chris MacNeil, The Exorcist, 1973. A demonic force has taken over the body and mind of a little girl, forcing a sort of religious war for her soul. Tell me that you've seen a mother go through more hell, literally and figuratively, than Chris, and I'll tell you you're a liar. A lot of women on this list put their lives on the line in order to save their children, but what do you do when you can't actually fight whatever is threatening your child? In Chris's case, you do everything you possibly can, spending countless hours going to a variety of different people to help in physical and mental ways, before finally she calls on 2 priests to perform an exorcism on her child. I think certain scenes go without saying as they're ingrained in all our memories. Chris is a successful actress, but she still makes time to love and care for her daughter even before she's possessed. And when Reagan is possessed, she puts her whole life aside to help her. So those were my picks for the top 10 best mothers in horror movies. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a like to let me know. And don't forget to leave a comment down below telling me who you think the best mother in a horror movie is. You can support the channel through my Patreon, where you can get exclusive and early access to videos like this. Also, don't forget to share this video to help the channel grow and subscribe for more videos like this. See you later.